Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this fine Friday morning. All right, I'm going to turn on our camera feeds for a moment just so that everyone can see that we are not in our pajamas and we do not have bedhead. Scott, of course, I guess you can't really get bedhead, can you?
No, I don't have to worry about that.
All right. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us for our first ever Eco Summit, brought to you by the Care for Creation Ministry from St. Francis of Assisi Catholic Church in Triangle, Virginia. Welcome to day 5 of this week-long online event, and a special thank you to those of you who have made it to every single webinar so far. There's a few of you this morning who you are the diehards, and we appreciate that. Someone did email me and ask why I keep referring to this as the first ever Eco Summit instead of the first annual Eco Summit. And that's because we weren't sure how it would go and whether it would be well received or not. So we didn't want to call it the first annual Eco Summit and then not actually ever do it again. So if you don't mind, those of you who are online with us right now, there's a poll activated in below your webinar. So if you scroll down, you should see the place for questions, but then there's a link to click for polls. If you just take that quick poll, the question is, should we make some version of this online Eco Summit an annual event? And the questions are pretty easy to or the answers are pretty easy to understand. Yes, this is fantastic. The second option is it's been okay, but the jury's still out. And then the third option is nah, once is enough. So please be brutally honest. Scott can take it.
And I'm tough.
All right. So, all right. Hey, we got one. Fantastic. Excellent. So yeah, go ahead and click on the polls and answer those. And later on, if more people join us, I will go ahead and point them to that poll as well, and probably mention it once again at the end, and we'll see what folks think, whether or not we should make this an annual event. So as I've mentioned before, this online event was created as a way for us to celebrate both the 50th anniversary of Earth Day and the 5th anniversary of Pope Francis's encyclical on the environment, Laudato Si, on care for our common home. I'm Brandon Jubar, the Director of Youth Ministry at St. Francis, and I'll be your host for this morning's webinar. Keep Prince William beautiful, keeping our community clean, green, and beautiful. So working in partnership with Prince William County government, Keep Prince William Beautiful is a nonprofit environmental organization that runs programs centered on encouraging and educating community members on how to be better stewards of the environment. So this morning, we'll talk about what you can do to make Prince William County, or wherever you live, a more clean, green, and beautiful place. Now, we will have time for questions and answers after the presentation, but we encourage you to submit your questions in the section below the webinar. So down below the webinar, if you scroll down where we ask you to take that poll, there's a spot for questions. So please put your questions there, and then we will queue them up and answer all those. You don't need to try to remember them. Just write it down and submit them as they pop into your head. Off to your right is the chat bar. You can say hi there. You can make comments. You can chat. Please chat over there. But if you have specific questions that you want to make sure that we see and Aleta answers, then put those in the questions section down below the webinar. My co-host, once again, is the incomparable Scott Dean. Scott is a life science teacher for Prince William County Schools, where he runs a green club for middle school students. And he's a member of the Prince William County Schools sustainability team. Scott has taught for 26 years in Virginia. Outside of school, he's a member of the Electric Vehicle Association of Greater Washington, D.C., and he co-chairs our St. Francis Care for Creation Committee. That's the team who brought this Eco Summit together. Scott will be helping me monitor the chat and any questions that you submit. And last, but certainly not least, I am pleased to welcome back our presenter this morning, Aleta Daniels. Good morning, Aleta.
Good morning.
If you joined us earlier this week, you'll recall that Aleta taught us all about the wonderful world of composting. She's back this morning in her official capacity as the executive director of Keep Prince William Beautiful. KPWB is a community partner, as I said, with Prince William County government. As I mentioned a moment ago, their overall goal is making Prince William County a more clean, green, and beautiful place to live. Aleta, good morning again, and welcome to the St. Francis of Assisi Eco Summit 2020.
Well, thank you so much. Hopefully it is the first annual and not just the first ever.
Oh, I slipped, didn't I? I said first annual. All right. You can tell with the way I'm leaning.
More coffee.
So I'm going to go, I'm going to go ahead and try to get your slides up here. Oh, I'm seeing Scott. Hey, Scott. There we go. All right. We got your slides.
Right. Well, thank you so much. I'm so glad to be doing this again. Good morning to everybody who has joined us. Before I get started, I am going to make one small disclaimer. I have a housemate here, and I can hear her starting to get ready up there. We have 4 dogs in the house, and so when she does make her appearance, the dogs are going to get really excited, but we're going to just talk right through all that excitement. So it is going to happen. But yes, all right. So if you joined us for the composting presentation earlier this week, then you kind of already know a little bit about me. I don't know if anybody here is listening to me speak for the first time, but I am the executive director of Keep Prince William Beautiful. I have a master's degree in environmental science, so the environment and science are both very near and dear to my heart. And I've been working in the nonprofit sector since, 2013. So I've been around long enough to start getting to know exactly what it takes to run a nonprofit. And I know that most of you listening right now, and those of you who are going to listen to the replay, probably are not from our immediate area. So while this is, I'm going to talk to you about what Keep Prince William Beautiful does, there are many, 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 many sister organizations throughout the nation and certainly throughout Virginia that do a lot of the same work or very similar work that we do. So this will definitely carry over and apply to wherever you are listening in from. So just as a brief introduction, so Keep Prince William Beautiful, we are a Keep America Beautiful affiliate. So Keep America Beautiful is based in Connecticut, Stafford, Connecticut, I think. And it is a national organization that has a bunch of affiliates, often with the name Keep Enter Your City Here Beautiful. This is the second Keep America Beautiful affiliate that I have worked for. So wherever you are listening in from, there is probably an affiliate organization. We are an environmental nonprofit organization, and as was previously mentioned, we are a community partner with the county. And I do like to make sure that people understand that we are not a part of the county. We do not receive funds from the county. We apply for grants, and that is what funds our operations. A lot of our grants do come from the county, so we apply for them every year. And then in return, we are kind of an extension of the county that does a lot of outreach and education on litter and recycling. What we do, the heart of our mission, is to educate and inspire everyone to be environmental stewards. So yes, our focus is primarily in Prince William County, but Keep America Beautiful is aiming to get an entire nation full of people who understand what an honor it is to take care of this incredibly productive and forgiving planet. So what we do is we work with and we teach people how to keep our area beautiful, why it matters, why they want to take pride in the community that they live in and make it a beautiful place for everybody, not just themselves. Why we do what we do. Anybody who gets out into the world, especially now as most people are out there walking around, enjoying our parks, enjoying their neighborhoods in ways that they may not have before, anybody who is doing this can look around and see how much litter exists in our communities. You can't escape it. So what we do is we try to keep this litter off of our streets and keep it where it belongs, which is in a landfill where it can be properly contained. So litter it's not just an eyesore, it actually has economic impacts in the area that you live. It can affect property value, devaluing property and businesses by approximately 7%. That's kind of the national average. Obviously, it does affect wildlife, people who throw things out of their car, especially food, which a banana peel is litter, even though it will eventually break down and turn into soil. Wildlife, they come searching for little snacks on the side of the road. So that banana peel, if it's just a little too far out into the road, it can increase the odds that that hungry animal is going to get hit by a vehicle. So it also affects wildlife. I'm sure many of you have probably seen the viral video that went around involving a sea turtle and a straw. Litter affects marine wildlife a little bit more than it does terrestrial, because sometimes fish find it really hard to distinguish between a piece of litter and a tiny piece of food. So oftentimes they'll be ingesting or feeding their young bits of plastic and bits of litter. So, and on that note, near a large percentage of litter that starts out on the side of the road eventually makes its way into some water body, whether it's a local stream, a local river, a lake, or the ocean. Most pieces of litter eventually end up in a body of water. One of the things that I love the most about my job is the opportunity that I have to be out in the public, talking to people, educating them. And one of my favorite aspects of that part of outreach and education is talking to kids. I get to interact with a lot of youth, a lot of children. And the thing is, when I'm talking to these kids and I ask them, why is litter bad? Or I'll ask them, would you want to live in a community that has litter everywhere? Kids always answer no to that question. Kids always, they instinctively know why litter is bad. And somewhere along the way, when these kids who know in their heart that we need to take care of this planet, not just for us, but for the species that we share it with, somewhere along the way, we still end up with so much litter in our area. So that's why it's so important for us to be able to get out and tell people, you know, hey, pay attention to your candy wrappers that you're keeping in your pocket, or pay attention to what's flying out your window. And one of the biggest causes of litter is actually from uncovered truck beds. So this could be dump trucks. This could be actual garbage cans. So if they're uncovered or not covered properly, sometimes those little bits of litter can fly out and the person driving the truck doesn't even know what happens. It is illegal to have an uncovered truck load. So, but that isn't always enforced. Another big reason that litter happens, if it comes out of a car, there's actually, back in Tennessee, where I moved here from, I worked for another Keep America Beautiful affiliate there. In Tennessee, the biggest source of litter came from cars, and it came from the cars of women aged 18 to 34. The biggest reason given was that you have kids, or those women have kids, their cars might get messy. They don't want to deal with a dirty car. I understand that, but it would end up with litter being tossed out the window. Now, that's not true everywhere. That happened to be true for Tennessee, but the average age of, the age of the most littered age is 18 to 34, men and women. So somewhere along the way, between kids who just know inherently that they need to keep our community clean and beautiful, that gets lost along the way. And so that's where we come in as litter and recycling education communities. And excuse me, I have a dog with chronic bronchitis and she is, there she goes. Okay, not sure if you could hear that, but apologies. So why we do what we do is to get out there and make sure that at least one more person understands what litter is, where it comes from, and what they can do to prevent it from becoming a problem. Our organizations are heavily dependent on volunteers. We couldn't do what we do without the volunteers that dedicate their time, their energy, and their passion for their community to keeping it more clean and more beautiful. Our volunteers tell us that what they do gives them a purpose. It instills an even stronger sense of that pride in their community and where they live, because they are out there actively ensuring that it is a beautiful place. So that is something that I love to see, is people who care deeply about their community and the people and the animals that they share it with. A lot of the programs that we have are going to be very similar to programs that other Keep America Beautiful affiliates have. One of those being our AdoptASpot. Scott Dean, our lovely co-host here, he has an AdoptASpot that he does with his middle school kids. So he's very familiar with our program. But our AdoptASpot program, when people sign up, it's a 2-year commitment. And what they have to do for that commitment is clean up their area at least 4 times a year. Some people do it more, some people do it less, and we try to monitor that. But on average, 4 times a year is what the commitment takes. In return for that commitment, you get a lovely sign that is donated by the county that explains who you are and that you are keeping that location free, or as free of litter as you possibly can. Personally, Keep Prince William Beautiful has about 78 adopted locations throughout the county, and about 37 of those are active as of this month. Active meaning fulfilling their commitments. So we do monitor that, and we do try to encourage people who weren't active to become a little more active. So we've got about a 50% activity rate. And the orange spots that you're seeing here, those are all of they were adopted, but no longer are, and are looking for new adopters. And all of those blue pins there are places that are currently actively being picked up or being cleaned up. Since July 1st, we have had 77 AdoptASpot cleanups and about just over 2,000 pounds of litter cleaned out of these adopted spots since July 1st. We use July 1st through June 30th. That is our fiscal year. And so those are the metrics that we determine our activity rates by. We also do storm drain labeling. So this is a Boy Scouts troop that is out there. They are putting what you don't see beneath their feet. That is a drain where stormwater goes. When it rains, it creates excess water, and that water has to go somewhere. So it goes down those drains where it goes to the county water treatment plant and gets cleaned and purified. So we put those storm drains there. They basically say, don't dump here. This leads to the Chesapeake Bay, because anything that gets dumped down into that drain can end up in the Chesapeake Bay, can affect wildlife, can affect your drinking water. So volunteers go out and actually put those labels on there. And it's just one more step saying, hey, pay attention to the impact that you are having on our community and our environment. We also host monthly community cleanups. And before COVID-19 became such a powerful force in our world and our communities, we were on track to have the biggest, most successful year of community cleanups. We partner with local businesses who often are willing to offer an incentive or a thank you to participants who clean up this particular area, whether it's a discount on an item or a free item or a gift card. So we really try to encourage those community relationships and make sure that people understand what they're doing, why they're doing it, and who it's impacting. So despite the fact that we are not going to be doing any community cleanups this summer, we have already had a successful year. We've had 42 individual or family community cleanups or neighborhood associations and regular community cleanups where we partner with a business since July 1st of 2019. We have collected 8,500 pounds of litter through those community cleanups. So they are incredibly helpful. They have an impact, and you can see the difference that it makes right away. Oh, apologies about that. It looked a lot better on my screen. This is a unique opportunity that we offer. I haven't seen many other affiliate and partner organizations offer this. We do a shopping center survey. Volunteers will go, we have 77 shopping centers throughout the county that get monitored. Volunteers will go out. It takes about 35 minutes to properly complete this survey. And they score the shopping center based on 29 different points of litter. So there's graffiti, visible litter, what else is on there? The other things that aren't coming to mind, but 29 points that they then rate that shopping center. Depending on the rating, we then determine whether we need to go in and host a community cleanup or work with a local business to maybe adopt that shopping center. But this is a way of keeping our shopping areas and our places where people visit regularly clean and free of litter. We also aren't just litter and recycling outreach and education. We also work with local organizations like schools and churches to do beautification projects. So this could be putting in a pollinator garden or building a outdoor classroom for those schools to utilize to get kids out in nature and seeing the beautiful area that they live in. We did have a couple of these lined up this year, but again, because of COVID, they're kind of tabled for the future. But we do a lot within our community that is beyond just the litter and recycling. So I did mention recycling outreach and education. So this is in addition to the litter, we also like to talk to people about recycling. When we do our litter cleanups, we never recycle anything that we pick up because it's often contaminated, covered in dirt, covered in other things. We're not able to use that for recycling. So everything in our litter cleanups go into the landfill. But with recycling education, this is a big part of our job because I'm sure that this is happening wherever you live. The local governments are changing the way recycling takes place. So whether your community has gone from a separate bin recycling facility to single stream where you just dump everything in one bin, maybe your community is taking glass out of your curbside recycling. That's what ours has done. It is a changing world. So the most questions that I get when I'm out talking to people is, why? Why has our recycling changed? Why have you taken glass out of our curbside recycling? And because it is such a complex business, the answers aren't always as cut and dry or as black and white as our community members would hope. So a lot of communities can't recycle glass, and that has to do with the expense of transporting that glass because it is so heavy. A lot of communities can't recycle styrofoam because they might not have the technology that that is involved with recycling styrofoam. Styrofoam, because it weighs so little, but it takes up so much space. When you think about those big styrofoam coolers, styrofoam packaging, by the time you get anything worthwhile from your styrofoam, the return on investment, it just doesn't make sense for a recycling facility as a business to allow styrofoam recycling. Single stream recycling bins. This is a this is a big one. A lot of communities are turning more towards that style of recycling. It's often easier on the consumer, you as a homeowner or you as a business owner, to put every bit of recycling in one bin. It's not easier on the recycling facility because then they have to go through and sort through all of the contaminated items. With single stream recycling, we've seen an increase in what I call wishful recycling, where you think, I don't know if this is recyclable. I'm going to hope it is. I'll put it in the recycling bin anyway. So then the recycling facility has to sort through and pull all of those wishful recycling items out of the bin. In Prince William County, one of the #1 wishful thinking recycled items is dirty diapers. I don't know where that connection is made with diapers, but they see a lot of them. One of the other highly wishful recycling items is plastic grocery bags or plastic film wrap. People think it's plastic, it must be recyclable, so they put them in the bins. In reality, those plastic bags, when they're being taken along on the conveyor belts and being sorted and put into and all the recycling's being put into their respective recycling piles, they can cause the recycling gears and machines to get very clogged up, which sometimes can shut down the recycling facility for a whole day until the mess is untangled. So plastic grocery bags need to be taken back to a grocery store. They often have little collection sites for them. We also see people throwing in things like garden hoses or furniture or appliances. For every single improperly recycled item or every wishful thinking recycled item, that causes a major impact on the recycling facility when they have to correct that mistake. So this is where we come in. We, as an extension of the county's recycling education department, we try to reach as many community members as we can, letting them know what to recycle, how, and why certain items are not recyclable, at least in our area. We do this through activities, crafts, and games. A lot of those are, of course, with our youth, but I am a very lighthearted 34-year-old woman who always enjoys playing games and doing crafts. So I think that's why I enjoy my job so much. So part of that is also teaching people how to reduce their consumption. And it starts with thinking about and understanding your own personal consumption habits. What you buy, how you buy it, how you dispose of the packaging, or how you might reuse the packaging. And through this, we help people understand their own ecological footprint, because every action that you take as a human being with the way our societies are, every single action we take has a resulting impact on the environment, whether you make that direct connection or not. That's where we come in, helping you understand why it matters to buy a product made out of recycled packaging, or to buy your groceries in bulk, or bring your own bags to the grocery store. Every single thing that you do has a resulting impact on our shared environment. And the last thing that I wanted to end on here with this was what our country has done, what our federal government has done, has placed an expectation on the consumer to be responsible for what they are consuming, rather than placing that expectation on the company that is making these products. We've kind of, instead of making these companies responsible for what they're making and how they're making it, and making sure that these companies produce their products in a way that is as kind and sustainable to our environment as possible, we have flipped the narrative and almost shamed people and made sure and say, how do you not know that styrofoam isn't recyclable? And placed that expectation on the consumer. So we're working with what we have available to us and just trying to increase the education that our residents and neighbors have in the choices that they make, if that makes sense. And that is all I have. It's a very brief overview of what we do. And of course, we can go into greater detail on any one of those points that I mentioned. I am happy to answer any questions that you do have. If you live in Prince William County, feel free to reach out directly to me to find out how you can get involved in any of our programs. Or reach out to me if you need help finding a similar organization where you live. But there are ways for you to get involved and make your community a clean, green, and beautiful place to live. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aleta. That was great. We do have a question here from Father Iggy. He wanted to know, do local governments have employees for any of these kind of cleanups, or is it always reliant on volunteers?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So a lot of county governments, or even the city, they have a litter crew. And so it is their job. They go out. If somebody calls and said, hey, somebody dumped a bunch of furniture or construction equipment, or there's trash all over the place, people can call the county or call the city, and then the litter crew will add that location to their cleanup sites. The problem with that is there usually aren't that many litter crew employees. We do work with them. So they help us out with our litter surveys, which we do quarterly to kind of gauge where in our community is receiving more litter. They will come help us with really big community cleanups where we're cleaning up a big dump site, but there's just not enough of them, and they can't be everywhere. So if somebody calls, it might not be that day or even that week that the litter crew can get to that location. But yes, they do exist.
All right, great. I had a question. I did not realize that your organization was part of Keep America Beautiful. Is there a way to find out if your community has an organization affiliated with Keep America Beautiful?
Yeah, you can go to Keep America Beautiful's website. It is kab.org. And there is, I don't exactly know where in the website it is, but they do have a find an affiliate organization or find an organization where you live. You could also, you could type in your state or your county. So every state has an affiliate organization. So there's a Keep Virginia Beautiful, and it's located in Richmond. So you could even go there, and then they might have a more narrowed down list of affiliate organizations.
And if somebody was to look for something in their area and not find it, could they start an organization in their community? Is that possible, or are these not set up by citizens?
Yeah, absolutely. So here in Prince William County, so we exist as Keep Prince William Beautiful. Back in 2017, the city of Manassas actually decided to make their own affiliate organization. So there is a Keep Manassas Beautiful. We do the same thing, but Keep Manassas Beautiful is associated directly with the city. So yes, you can, if you have an organization that is already kind of focused on litter, focused on environmental education. They have the Keep America Beautiful website has a Become an Affiliate webpage with all of those details in it.
I got you. Thank you. All right, we have another question here from Bill. he wants to know if you're aware if the county has a tree planting program.
Bill, is Bill, are you from Prince William County?
It's because Bill, unless he types an answer here quickly, I'm gonna assume he is.
Okay, that's what I would assume too. The reason that I asked that is because I don't know specifically about our county, but there is the Prince William County Soil and Water Conservation District, and they have a lot of that information. But if you have a need for trees, for seedlings, reach out to me, because we, in the fall, will be getting a big delivery of seedlings, and we're looking for people to plant those with. I won't share the details now in the interest of time, but if you have need for, even just a couple or a dozen, reach out to me. If not, if it's more just your curiosity, I would look into the Soil and Water Conservation District. That would be my first place to go check.
Yeah, Bill said he is not from Prince William, but
Okay.
I'm not sure where he's from, but okay. And is your organization, do they, Aleta, since you had said you were looking for people to help with the seedlings, do you guys actually advertise when you need community support for things? Is there somewhere like you should look?
Yeah, here in Prince William County, there's a really awesome organization called Volunteer Prince William, and it kind of serves as a clearinghouse for all of the nonprofits and other organizations that rely on volunteers. We post a lot on there. Like if we have a community cleanup, we'll post it on there. If we have a community tree planting date, we'll post that on there. And there are hundreds of opportunities for volunteers to get involved that they post regularly. Otherwise, we just post a lot through our social media and our website and our newsletter.
All right, fantastic. And Bill did mention now that he is from Fairfax.
Okay. Fairfax actually has an organization called Clean Fairfax. My friend Jen Cole, she's the executive director of that organization. They are not a Keep America Beautiful affiliate, but they do many of the same things that we do. So I would check with Clean Fairfax. They're fantastic.
Great. And Mike Hathaway added that Burke Center Conservatory, they have a tree planting program funded through a grant with the Chesapeake Bay Foundation.
Oh,
so, and that's, I guess, planting at the community centers in Burke. So they do native trees and shrubs, he says.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. We do have a conservation alliance here, the Prince William Conservation Alliance. And I know that when they have trees or the funding made available, we did a planting with them at one of the state parks right when I started. I can't remember the park's name, but there's some great organizations, and we all have that common mission of taking care of our environment, and our community members. So,
well, that sounds fantastic. It's a great organization. I can tell the folks out there that I have worked with them with St. Francis of Assisi. They help us with our cleanups, and the school I work with, Aleta's group has come in to do talks to the kids, and again providing us with school cleanup supplies. Wonderful organization. Highly recommend. If you're in the Prince William County area and you're looking for an organization to help you with a cleanup, this is your go-to group right here.
oh, thank you very much.
Well, that looks like that's the end of our questions. So I'm going to turn this back over to, we got one more just popped in from Robert. Robert wants to know if there's any resource recommendations about parish beautification, ecological footprints for churches, parishes. Aleta, are you aware of anything like that?
Not specifically for parishes. Obviously, we will come out and I'll give presentation to churches. I love coming to a church and giving a presentation, because the heart of the community there is often has a shared responsibility for not only their church community, but the larger community and their environment. We do sometimes get grants. If there's a church that is very in the area that is really excited and wants to pursue putting in a pollinator garden or an outdoor classroom or native planting, we can work with them. There are grants that we can apply for that will make that possible. Things are a little different now, so I'm not sure what's going to happen in the future, but if anybody at all wanted to reach out and talk about doing something like that, I'm happy to.
All right. And again, if you're interested in getting a hold of Aleta, remember it's called Keep Prince William Beautiful. And I know on the presentation there, she had the web address, and she said she's also on social media.
That's right.
All right. And with that, I think that is our last question. Brandon, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
All right. Yeah, before we kind of wrap things up and close things out, Aleta, you sort of, I think, referred to something, didn't get too deep into it, and I'm sure you could do either a presentation or a week of presentations on it, but you talked about the importance of actually kind of the true cost of products and how manufacturers don't have to account for the true cost of a product. And what I mean by that is, we know now, we've got the science to show that the cost of a product isn't just the cost of the raw materials and the manufacturing and the sales and distribution. It's also the long-term costs to the environment and to everything else, to our society. And society bears the burden of that cost.
Yes.
And the only way, I think, to put that cost back on the manufacturers is through regulation.
Yes.
And that's where the importance of voting and understanding who you're voting for and what they really are pushing for becomes so critical.
Absolutely. The costs that you're referring to, they're called external costs. So they're the things that you don't think of in terms of costs to your health. Maybe there are some toxic chemicals that make up the product. Maybe the actual production of that product releases toxic chemicals into our water or into our soil. It's the costs on the environment. So absolutely, when you are paying X amount of dollars for a product, that is not its true cost. And it's hard to quantify those costs. But yes, yep. Voting, it's incredibly important. Knowing, like diving deep into the research of understanding who our politicians are fighting for. You know, is it your average citizen, or is it these big companies? So yeah, we could talk for a week about that. You're absolutely right.
Now, does your organization, or do you know of organizations you could recommend that help do that research? Because that's the thing, even doing the research to understand that is a lot to put back on individuals and expect them to figure it all out for themselves.
Yeah, honestly, we are not allowed to kind of get into the political side of things. We are strictly informational. We share the information about recycling. We make sure people understand why certain items aren't recyclable, why you shouldn't just put things into the recycling bin hoping it's recyclable. Clean Fairfax actually is doing quite a lot of work with it's called Litter Free Virginia. I think the website is litterfreeva.org, and they are fighting very hard to push through litter bills. So right now they were pushing through a plastic bag tax, and they're trying to fight for a bottle deposit. I'm from Michigan, so I grew up with this being the normal thing, that you could return a soda can or a beer can or what have you, and you get 10 cents back. So that made sense. People recycled their aluminum cans and their glass bottles. And then to find that wasn't the case everywhere. In Virginia, we're pushing to make that happen, because it does have a very, very big impact on the amount of these products that get recycled. So we personally, as our organization, do not get involved in that. But there are people who do lobby for that. Clean Fairfax being one. So that was a long answer to your question. I hope.
No, that was great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, it's interesting. I grew up in Michigan, and some of my fondest childhood memories. We didn't have a whole lot when I was growing up, so we'd hop in the old pickup truck and drive down the back roads and pick up
Yeah, absolutely.
cans and bottles that people had thrown out,
Yeah.
took them to the store.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, I was on the other end of that. I used to work at Wegmans in New York State growing up, and I used to be the guy who would collect the bottles and cans that people brought in, and then we would give them money for all their bags. And we had people who had just collected off the side of the road to earn money, and we would then recycle it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it helps to have that incentive behind that. And I can't help but wish that there didn't need to be an incentive to do something like that. But until there's widespread education on how important it is to reduce, reuse, recycle, and until there's a widespread movement towards making that more of a reality, it is very good to have some incentives. So.
Absolutely.
excellent. All right. Yep. No more. Doesn't look like any other questions have popped in. So we will go ahead and wrap things up for this morning.
Beautiful.
Aleta, thank you so much again for joining us earlier this week and this morning to talk about the wonderful work that you and KPWB are doing.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting us to be a part of this. I look forward to being a part of it next year.
Well, and it's nice to know that, even though you are centered in Prince William County, people can go to Keep America Beautiful or Keep Their State Beautiful wherever they are, and find a local organization, or as Scott was asking about, starting a local chapter if there's not one where you live.
Absolutely. So, yeah.
Great things like that are going on.
Great to know.
The folks who were in attendance this morning, thank you for coming. We will be editing this and posting it on YouTube, so you will be able to share this more widely. Probably in the next week or two, all of these will be up online. Otherwise, you need to have been registered for the webinar in order to see the replay. There were plenty of folks who were registered and doesn't look like they were able to get up this early, or they were busy at work, so they will be getting this recording. One final thing to note, I keep mentioning this, is that by registering for the webinar, you were automatically added to our St. Francis of Assisi Care for Creation email list. We do not plan to be bombarding you with emails. You'll probably hear from us about once a week. I know that there have been a lot of reminders for the webinars. That is just a function of how we set the webinars up in the system. So we won't be bombarding you with daily emails once this summit is over. If you do get emails from us and you decide you don't want to hear from us, it's very easy. There's an unsubscribe link in the footer of every single email we send to that list. Just click the link. You'll be unsubscribed. You don't need to send me any nasty grams telling me to remove you from the list. I promise if you click that unsubscribe link, you won't hear from us again. With that, thanks again for attending. Please don't miss tomorrow morning's webinar. It's an Eco Products Roundtable. It will be led by our very own Scott Dean.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, that should be fun. We hope to make that an even more interactive session. So we'd ask that you please come armed with your own suggestions on eco-friendly products that you're using, or any information that you have that you'd like to share with the group. Tomorrow's morning session will start at 10 a.m., just as today's session did. So again, come armed with your suggestions and be ready to have a little discussion with us. Obviously, the chat will be open and we'll be taking questions and talking about your comments, trying to answer your questions and give you lots of tips on how to choose eco-friendly products that maybe Aleta would approve of, because we're trying to keep litter down and make sure that we can recycle and be very conscious of what we're consuming. Absolutely. With that, I will bring this webinar to a close. I have been Brandon Jubar, your host this morning. One more shout out to Aleta Daniels. Aleta, thank you for speaking to us the second time.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you all again for spending time with us today. Until tomorrow morning, Scott and I bid you adieu. God bless.
And have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you for caring for our common home. Goodbye, everybody.